Sindbad the Sailor. Sindbad the sailor settled down in Baghdad after his adventures. He often told his friends the stories of his 7 amazing voyages. The first voyage. After my father passed away, I inherited a fortune. Without guidance, I wasted my wealth and fell into bad habits. When I recovered, I used what was left to buy goods and set sail on a trading voyage. One day, while dining on what we thought was an island, the island moved. It turned out to be the back of a giant whale. Most of the crew escaped to the ship, but I was left behind and drifted on a piece of wood. The current carried me to a small island where I found fruit and water. At night, I climbed a tree to avoid the strange sounds of trumpets and drums which came from unseen beings. On the 3rd day, men arrived on the island. They told me it was inhabited by genies and used by King Mirage to train his horses. They took me to the king, who welcomed me. Soon, I recognized my merchandise being unloaded from a ship at the harbor. The captain and crew initially thought I was dead, but I proved my identity and reclaimed my goods. After trading, I returned to Baghdad with great wealth. The second voyage. I grew restless and set out on another voyage. At one stop, I fell asleep and was left behind when the ship sailed away. Exploring the island, I discovered a massive white object, which turned out to be a giant egg of a bird called a roc. When the roc returned, I tied myself to its leg, and it carried me to a valley filled with diamonds. The valley was also home to dangerous serpents. Merchants threw meat into the valley to lure eagles, which carried the meat and diamonds out of the valley. I tied diamonds to myself and was carried to safety by an eagle. The merchants were amazed at my diamonds, and I traded some for goods. I eventually returned to Baghdad with even greater riches. The third voyage. I embarked on a 3rd journey and faced a storm that forced us to land on an island inhabited by hairy, savage pygmies. They captured us and led us to a palace filled with human bones. The palace belonged to a giant with one eye who ate some of my companions. To escape, we heated metal spits and blinded the giant. He chased us but couldn't catch us as we escaped on rafts. However, other giants hurled rocks, destroying most rafts. Only I and 2 others survived. On another island, a giant serpent ate my companions, but I managed to protect myself by creating a barrier of thorns around a tree. Eventually, I was rescued by a passing ship and returned home. The 4th voyage. Restless again, I set sail and was shipwrecked on an island of cannibals. The cannibals fed my companions herbs that made them fat, then ate them. I avoided the herbs and escaped. I later met people who took me to their king. Observing that they rode horses without saddles, I made one for the king, who rewarded me generously. However, their culture required living spouses to be buried with their deceased partners. When my wife died, I was forced into a burial cave with her body. I survived by eating food left in the cave and found a way out through a tunnel used by a sea creature. Collecting jewels from the cave, I escaped and returned home wealthier than before. The 5th voyage. On my 5th voyage, we landed on an island where my crew destroyed a roc's egg. 2 rocs attacked our ship, destroying it with giant stones. I survived by clinging to debris and reached an island. There, an old man tricked me into carrying him on my shoulders. He clung tightly, refusing to let go. I finally made him drink wine, which made him fall off and die. Later, I joined a crew harvesting coconuts by throwing stones at monkeys who threw coconuts back. I sold the coconuts and returned home. The 6th voyage. During my 6th voyage, our ship wrecked near a mountain. I built a raft and floated through a dark river to a new land. The people there brought me to their king. I gave him beautiful crystals from the mountain, and he allowed me to return home with a letter and gifts for the Caliph of Baghdad. These included a ruby cup, a serpent skin that could cure disease, and valuable woods. The Caliph rewarded me generously. The seventh and final voyage. The Caliph sent me on a diplomatic mission to deliver gifts to the king of Serendib. The king received me warmly, but in my return journey, pirates captured our ship. I was sold as a slave to a merchant who used me to hunt elephants. While hunting, the elephants led me to their burial ground, where I found countless ivory tusks. The merchant was thrilled and freed me. I returned home with vast wealth. The Caliph was so impressed by my story that he had it written in gold and stored in his treasury. Sindbad concluded his adventures, grateful for his fortune and eager to live a peaceful life in Baghdad.